Hi, dumpster diving time again. Check this out. It's the first time ever that I have scored a touchscreen all-in-one PC, and this is a HP NV23 Touch Smart, complete with Beats audio, wank wank wank, and it's got a Core i5 in it. Dates from 2012. That's the model number anyway, and it's got a Core i5 3750, I think it is, in it. And yeah, somebody has dumped it. Now it did actually have the plastic unclipped like that, so I'm not sure what the deal is there. Having a hard time clipping it back in, but unbelievable. Why would someone, if it does work, I can't believe somebody would throw this out. Anyway, the model number is 23-D005A. It's got a tuner in it. Wow. It's got a pain in the ass DC connector though. And well, I've got like four lots of these, and I found one that I think might fit. But I looked up the specs for it, and it's a 180 watt power supply. It's 19 volts at 9.5 amps. Like 9.5 amps for one of these little dicky a barrel jack type things. With it looks in reasonable nick, apart from the case being slightly off. Anyway, it's got USB 3 and SD card reader and everything on the side. So anyway, we'll try and power this thing up and see what's what. Okay, I just realized that it's not actually the pin in there that does it. I didn't know this, but there's an inner barrel inside there. So, okay, that would make more sense, because if you just had the dicky little pin, then it wouldn't make any sense at all. Anyway, I do have a supply. I forgot I had this beastie, the 6642A. I've got a couple of variants of this. This one actually conveniently does 0 to 20 volts, 0 to 10 amps. Perfect. I buzzed out the outer barrel on there. It goes to mains earth, so that's got to be negative. We'll plug it in and see what happens. Fingers crossed. All right, here we go. On. Let's go for broke. 1.5 amps. 2 amps. It's drawing something. Soft power button on the top. It's drawing 1.6 amps. No magic smoke. Nothing on the screen. What if I hold down the power button? I don't know. Does it take time? It's doing something at 1.6 amps. Maybe the screen's gone. Maybe that's why they dumped it. I don't know. You know, 30. Oh, that's enough to boot it. Really? You know, to boot a Core i5. Now, I actually have a LED on the back that's on, sort of doing something. So maybe it's booted and the screen is busted. I don't know. It might have to come apart. And there's a screw loose in the top paddock. That's completely, yeah, someone's had a play with that. So maybe they've tried to, yeah, look, warranty void sticker. Someone's had a go. Have a go, you mug. Ta-da! We're in like Flynn. Oh, look at that. That comes off beautifully. Bobby Dazzler. So there you go. I've never seen inside one of these before. I haven't done a teardown on one of these, but look, we've got our SO-DIMM modules down in there, fully populated. Thanks for playing. And of course a ton of shielding on this thing. And there's your CPU. There's your heatsink. Got big copper pipes on it, and a squirrel cage fan in there. Wonder how loud that puppy is. But and our SATA connector. There's our hard drive. Okay, somebody's ripped the hard drive out of it. I think that's where it sits. Looks like there's a cage which goes down in here. So, yep, that's why they've ripped it apart. Not necessarily to fix it, but to remove the hard drive before dumping. Some backlight thing? Looks like, yeah, it's a backlight. Okay. Now let's switch this puppy on. Ta-da, there's actually a light down in there, and our fan has spun up. It's going. I would say that the processor in this baby is working, and it's likely booting at 1.65 amps. So much for the, you know, the 185 watt capable power supply it needs. I didn't have to worry about that at all. Could have just used a regular lab bench supply to get this thing powered up. Of course, it could consume more if the screen Maybe the screen's like completely cactus and isn't drawing power. I don't know what the nominal power consumption of this thing is. Check out the Wi-Fi antennas up here. You can see them there and there. Okay, the button is definitely okay, it's illuminated. They've got some LEDs on top of that power switch there. It's doing the business. I don't see them changing. Are they supposed to change color or whatnot? But check that out. Isn't that pornographic? Oh, look at those copper heat pipes. Beautiful. Coming off the Core i5 processor there. And check it out, under there, in its own on its own daughter board. They didn't build it onto the main motherboard because they can upgrade it. That's the graphics card. It's a HD 75 something or other Radeon card. I don't believe it's, you know, hugely powerful, but good enough for this sort of all-in-one purpose. And there's our webcam attachment there. That's going up there. So that's the NSA edition. Now, what I'm looking for is some sort of external, you know, LCD connector, some sort of video connector that I can hook up to. Look at this. DVI, there it is. Can you see that? There's UMA DVI, and the one above it says MXM DVI. But, yeah, I don't have any sort of adapter cable for anything like that. If I did, I could, like, use that to bypass the built-in screen just to make sure that the processor works. And it looks like down in the bottom of the case here we have like a secret squirrel USB connector. It looks like you shove something up its clacker there, which is different to the 4 USBs we've got over here, which are, you know, user accessible on the back panel, the 2 USB 3s here. So that's a special secret squirrel one that, what is it, you know, a service connector, upgrade BIOS thing, whatever, I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, there's our tuner card. Get the model number for those playing along at home. Okay, what I think I'm going to do is nuke it from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. Just remove the BIOS and short that out and clear that there. I don't know if there's a switch or a jumper to... Oh, yeah, I think there is. If I take that out. These are, by the way, if you're wondering, these were 4 gig a pop. So this has got 8 gig CMOS plus password. Let's reset it, repower it, see if it makes a difference. Shouldn't, though. Can't see how. Check this out. This is really groovy. I don't think I've ever seen this before. Look, it's a vertical watch crystal holder. They soldered that in vertically, and that's what they're doing. They're holding that up. That is remarkable. Hats off to whoever did that. That's gilding the lily. Okay, the next thing I just thought of is that maybe because these are like really ultra consumery kind of, you know, user experience kind of thing, maybe with no hard drive in here, they've removed the hard drive, maybe it just simply doesn't boot up with anything. Like no BIOS messages or anything like that perhaps. So I've got a drive from another machine which has Windows 10 on it. Prop it up a bit. No wuckers. Aha, that's the hard drive LED. Still nothing. Bummer. Aha, I figured this out. This is the LVDS going off to the panel, and MXM is actually the graphics card. That's why we've got 2. The UMA one, I believe that would be the integrated graphics inside the Intel Core i5. So, yeah, we can choose between that. So they've got the LVDS one and they've got the DVI, exactly the same here. So if we had the proper connector to convert that into a DVI connector, we could just hook on straight onto an external monitor. But not anyway, I'm going to swap this over from the video card, because who knows? Could be a video card at fault. I actually rather like the thermal design on this, by the way. Not just, you know, for the copper heat pipes. That's, you know, it's common in laptops and stuff like that. But, you know, like they've done it right. They've got the air coming out of the top. You know, like the squirrel cage fan. I can hardly hear that thing at all. Yeah, it's not much. And it's, you know, and then it pushes out and sucks it in from down here and then pushes out the top exactly as you'd expect it would. So that's nice design. And in case you're wondering, nope, I got diddly squat with the LCD changed over to the UMA. So, wah, 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 wah. Okay, the next thing I want to check is the other end of the flat flex cable there going into that. So I've got to get in there and carefully unclip that and just have a little wiggle, 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 yeah. All right, now I'm starting to think that it's the backlight, LED backlight driver over here, because I turned off the lights, turned it on, and there's no residual LED backlight at all. So that could explain it. Okay, so let's actually disconnect the board and take some readings here. I've got it connected through to system ground there. Now pin 1 is actually 3.38 volts. I'm going to call that pin 1. It's the black, because you know, black, brown, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, all that sort of jazz. And 3.39, same. Third one over, 19.4. What do we got? 19.4 again. 3.38. 0.33. No idea what's doing there. Zippity doodah. And zippity doodah. Alright, let's plug the board in, see if it makes a difference. Okay, that pin 1 has now dropped down to 0.17. Yeah. So if that was supposed to be a 3.3 volt rail, then we're in trouble. That's still 19. That's the power. That's going to be exactly the same. That's the same pin. And 3.3. Oh no, there's 3.3. 0.3. Okay. Well, not exactly sure what that means, but anyway, let's go measure it over on the board now. And what I'm going to do is that there's the ceramic output caps on here, and I'm going to measure the voltage across those, and zip. So obviously it's not generating the compliance voltage required to drive the lead string. Now I've measured the diode in there, and that's good. So what I'm going to do now is measure the power in. That's on pin 2. Geez, I can hardly see that. It's insane. Oh God, I can't even see that to probe anymore. Unbelievable. But I can probe the bypass cap there, and of course we get the supply voltage, 19.4 volts. So yeah, the chip's getting power, but I don't think she's switching. Okay, let's probe pin 5, which is the enable pin. Should be the top of this resistor down here. Aha, it's not enabled. Well, there's your problem. And I traced out the enable pin, pin 5. It went on the back of the board here and wiggled its way over to the third pin from the end there. So that is the culprit. That is not enabling our driver chip. No wonder the backlight's not coming on. Whether that's deliberate or whether or not there's some fault causing that, I don't know, but we can certainly override that. Alright, what I've done now is I've actually cut the trace going to the enable pin on there, and it's got a 20k pull down resistor on it, and I've tied that high, so I'm basically going to force that enable pin. I wanted to cut the track because I don't know what's driving it. Could be direct logic, and I didn't want to like directly short it out. Didn't want to go cutting cables and you know, things like that. So yeah, let's try it. So we're going to force this thing on. No! Hiccup in. Look. Hey, it's hiccup in. Oh, no, hang on. That could be the power supply. I may not have enough current limit. I had it set to 3.5 amps. Hang on. No, it's not the power supply doing that. It's the power supply on here. Just hiccuping and resetting the whole thing. You can see the LED flashing down there, the power LED up the top. Switch up, this soft switch on the top, and you can see the fan just going twitch. It's got nervous twitch. It just can't handle it. So yeah, backlight problem. So what I'll do is I'll disconnect the actual LEDs themselves, and we'll give it another go. Nah. Whoa, this is heavy. And here we go. Check it out. Actually uses an MPS 3389, which is a monolithic power multi-string, multi-12 LED string driver, which is exactly what you'd expect to find here. And there are two power transistors it needs. Here's the schematic typical application schematic, which it's almost going to follow this precisely. So here's your two power transistors. Right here is your converter, and Bob's your uncle, right? This thing should work, but it doesn't. Good. Now we have something to troubleshoot. And before you scream at me, no, it's not the fuse there. I've measured it. Alright, so what I'm going to do is just try and manually drive this backlight. So, it has the weird pain in the ass little connector thing on it, so I just got rid of that and chopped it off. We'll feed in some leads. I can always reattach later, and I'll use my Keithley current source. I don't know the drive current, so I'm going to set it to like a nominal 50 milliamps. That's what it has in the data sheet for that chip driving, but we just we just don't know. I mean, this board has the external drive transistors on, so it could certainly be more than that, but I don't know, 50 milliamps sounds fine. And you need a source like this because, of course, we're going to have lots of LEDs in series. There'll be like a strip along probably the top and bottom, or it could be the sides, and probably top and bottom, because then there's less range to go that way to actually project the light up there than it is to come in from the side. So I'd say they've got them top and bottom, just as a guess. So we're going to have a big string of LEDs in there. There could be, I don't know, 20 LEDs or something, all in series. So let's say we had 20 LEDs and they're all white LEDs with a nominal, say, 3 volt voltage drop. Some of them can be much higher, like up to 5 volts or something. 3 times 20 is 60 volts. So you need a reasonably high compliance voltage. And my Keithley one here will actually go up. Here's the compliance voltage knob, and it'll go right up to 100 volts, so we shouldn't need any more than that, because the reason you can tell is because these wires are absolutely, the reason you tell it's high voltage is these wires are absolutely tiny. So if it was like low voltage and it was driving them all in parallel or whatever, which is a harder arrangement to physically manufacture on the board, it's much easier to put LEDs in series, is you'd need much thicker wires to get the same amount of power. So obviously it's going to be a low-ish current, like, in the order of that 50 milliamps. Anyway, enough talking. Let's see if we can ramp this thing up and see if the LEDs come on. So let's turn it up. Hopefully I got the right... Hey, hello. Hello, McFly. It's about 40 volts. There you go. So, if you're like a nominal 3 volts per LED, for example, like you might have, a dozen LEDs in there or something like that. I've got an interesting dark patch here. Are they on the side and projecting over? That's interesting. Anyway, let me swap that over to the other one, because there's only 2 LED strings inside this thing, and see. Aha, yep, it looks like it is side lit. There you go. Looks like they got them just on this one side over here. That's interesting. Wow, I wouldn't have expected that. I would have expected them to be top and bottom in there. And if you put them on the side, I mean, trying to get an even projection right across that sort of width, what is it, 20 inches or whatever, 18 inches or something, 23-inch screen, I don't know, work out your angle and figure that out. But yeah, trying to get it right across is, it's really quite difficult. And that's a reasonable, camera looks reasonable what it is actually in real life. Don't worry about that strip there. That's just a reflection off the wall over there. Power on. Ta-da. Whoa, hello. I saw something. I saw a scan line, but we don't have anything. I would have still expected to see some sort of image, even if we didn't have very faint image, even if we didn't have any backlight, because you're still going to get some like external light coming in, and then the reflector at the back actually would, bring something back out, I would have thought anyway. So there's something rotten in the state of Denmark here. Though I actually had it set to the internal UMA thing, so let's try that again. No, same thing. All right, hard drive plugged in. Yeah, the current jumped up to 2.5 amps. I'm not current limiting. I'm not entering current limit, so it ain't that. And it'd be nice if there were like some, error beeps on power up, but I don't, unless I'm missing it, I don't see a buzzer on here anywhere, like a system buzzer. Or whether or not, I don't even see like a connector or pin header thing for it. Nothing that's labeled anyway, so That's a bit of a bummer. It wouldn't, but then again, you'd probably need like the service manual, and well, I don't know. Can you get the service manual for this? Haven't even looked yet. All right, so now that we've established that, well, there's something wrong with the backlight by the looks of it, and we still can't get anything on the display, let's start doing the basic PC stuff of eliminating issues, like the stuff that we can replace, like the memory, for example, and also removing the GPU card, because if we plug, I did try to plug the LCD into the UMA slot, but it may detect, the BIOS may actually detect that the graphics card is plugged in and therefore switches off that UMA. So if we physically actually remove that, looks like I've got to take out, well, it looks like I have to take out the heatsink from the CPU then because those bars go over the top of that. So it looks like I have to remove that. So I've got some known good memory, only 2 gig each, but that's all I've got. So I'll whack those in there. Okay, let's test the memory and see if we get anything. Still don't see anything there. And well, we found the word buzzer, so that's presumably the PC system buzzer, but like, where the hell is it? It's not, there's no connector near it. What? Or is it, it's not that. I don't get it. Well, that came off very nicely. A little bit of crustiness in there, but there was just the one screw there, and then the whole thing just lifted off. I'll just reseat the CPU here, just to be sure. And likewise, this one should be pretty easy. There's just 2 screws on the bottom of the PCI card there, and that should just wiggle out. Look at that. Beautiful. Alright, we have the video card removed, the LCD plugged into the UMA. Let's give that a whirl. 1.5, no, it's drawing the same amount of, well, no, well, the current's dropped. Yeah, current's dropped a fair amount, but zippity doodah again. No, it's drawn about an amp. And that's booted with the hard drive back in it, so, diddly squat. Alright, so the next thing we want to do is look at the BIOS chip on here, because there's quite a bit of talk online that these things need a BIOS, either the BIOS chip re-flashed or it to be physically replaced with a new one. It's a common problem with these HP Envies, apparently. And there's the little puppy under there. Now, thankfully, I believe we don't actually have to desolder this to reprogram it. We've got a remote programming header down here, and I'll link in information. It's on a website. Thankfully, I didn't have to go decode it myself. Some people have already done the hard yards here, and we have the pinout for that, and we can actually access the SPI bus for the serial ROM chip up here, and we should be able to reflash it. Fingers crossed. So here's the pinout for the ROM recovery header, and it comes with 2 jumpers. Normally there's this black jumper in place here, and that's the SPI chip select. Normally that's shorted, so we have to remove that and also move this top blue one from here over to here. I'm not exactly sure what that does, but that allows you to access and reprogram the ROM. It might actually change like the external voltage or something like that perhaps. And yep, as suspected, one of those pins goes through to the power pin of the BIOS flash chip. So I think that might be switching between internal and external programming voltage for that. So we should be able to actually flash this chip but without applying power to the board, by applying power externally, which is on pin number 5 down the bottom there. And we'll try and get the number on that. There we go. I should be able to read that on playback, because it's hard to whack a huge thing like this under the Mantis. And the good news is that my Mini Pro programmer supports this. You go in here to Spansion, even though it didn't say it's the S25 here. I believe it is because it had the FL064K. SOIC 8 package is the correct one. You don't want the same one in a SOIC 16. So it's that. So we should be able to, information, there we go. We know exactly which pins to, well, no, it didn't tell us which pins. I have to go look up the data sheet. get the pin out, and know exactly which pins I'm hooking up. And there we go, that's a 64 megabit CMOS 3 volt flash memory, 80 meg SPI, thank you very much. That's really screaming, isn't it? So if we go down here, we should be able to find the pin out. There we go. Ta-da! We can now compare that to our ROM programming header and just wire the strap over the pins. Should work. Unfortunately, it is not reading. It overcurrent protection actions, external short circuit IC reverse or damaged. I've tried reversing the MISO and Mozzie lines just in case I goof those up, but no cigar. Wah, 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 wah. Okay, well that was interesting. It turns out my little TL866, whatever it is, mini prog programmer here couldn't actually provide enough grunt to power the chip directly. I actually measured across the power rail on there, and it was like 700 ohms with the meter, sort of both directions. So what I did is just hooked up an external 3.3 volt power supply on there, and actually didn't connect. So I connected that, joined the grounds together, and then connected the 3.3 directly up to the power rail, and what do you know? It read it in. Woohoo! Woohoo! There it is, read finished. It took, what is it? Oh, 8,100, oh, 81,000 milliseconds to read that in. It read the ID, okay. Everything's hunky-dory, and now we can actually have a look at the data in here, and presumably we should, oh, cancel, we should be able to reflash that. No worries whatsoever. So I'll download the latest firmware, wherever that is, and simply reflash it. There you go, but I'll save this one just in case. There we go, we're on the HP page now. We've got the BIOS, consumer, PC BIOS update, ROM, blah, 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 blah. Let's do it. Which one do we need? One of those two. I think it's the .ROM. All right, so let's burn that. Program, and it should do the ID check first. Then it should take a while. Yeah, could take a bit. It's a big flash. And I was actually going to do a second verify pass, but it's already going to do that for me, so I'll trust it. As long as this verifies okay, we're good to go. If we can program the entire 64 megabit flash and then read it all back again, you know you got a winner. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Okay, let's just turn it on just without the graphics card or anything for a minute, and see if we get anything different to last time. So, clickety-doo-dah. 19 volts, did something flash there. Soft power button, switched on. Something flashed over here. That's the hard drive, is it? No, there we go. No, it just seeked 2.1 amps. Yep, I think it's doing something. Haha, let me check the screen. It's all hard when it's all back to front like this. Still haven't reinstalled the backlight or anything. Alright, I got the backlight. Well, I didn't put the PCB back on and still run it from the external current source. So let's power this puppy up. And because I couldn't see diddly squat before, so it's only got half the backlight. Way! Hello! i5 3470S CPU. Sorry you can't see that. Whoa, winner, winner, chicken dinner, no boot disk. It works fine. That fixed it. Let's try that again. That fixed it. It was the bloody BIOS. Unbelievable. There you go. We've got our RAM. Got everything else. Everything's hunky-dory. Nothing wrong with the graphics card. Graphics card works a treat. And, well, the backlight driver could still be dead. There's a chance, but I don't think so. I think that it actually switches that on. So, hi. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. So it's a bit of a Franken monster at the moment, powering from an external bench supply with a external backlight driver on there. Don't worry about that train track on the floor. That's just normal for the EEVblog lab. But hey, we got it going. And unfortunately, it looks like we do have a fault in the LED driver board, because I've put it back to, like, I did some mods on there and to troubleshoot it, and I put it back to its original state, and Nothing. I mean, thing boots, but it doesn't draw any additional power. It's still only drawing 1.9 amps at 19 volts, and it's not switching on. There you go. So it looks like we have two faults on this thing. One was the bias, which we're fixed, no wuckers, and the other is the backlight. So due to time constraints, I'm going to leave it today. There might be a part 2 on fixing the backlight driver on this puppy, because something is, I mean, like, could be just the board, or there could be something over on the main board actually causing some sort of issue or something like that, like power supply over there hiccuping. In that case, that's a lot harder than just fixing the board up here, or, you know, even buying a replacement board or whatever if you have to. So there you go. I hope you found that one interesting, and we went down a bit of the rabbit hole there with the backlight and stuff like that, originally suspecting that, and it turns out it looks like there is an issue there. So I was kind of looks like I was on the money there, but I could have found the bias one earlier. Of course, if I probably simply Googled, you know, HP MV23 blank screen fault or something, it probably pops up, because it seems to be a common problem. The bias on these HP MVs actually just corrupts itself. It just shats itself after a couple of years, and reflashing them is actually a common thing. Hence, there's, you know, quite a few little tutorials and web pages and YouTube videos out there showing you how to do that. But yeah, looks like we have a secondary fault here, but there's no reason why I can't get this running, even if I have to like, you know, do my own backlight driver circuit or something like that, and wire it directly across the power input or something. You know, you could get this working if you really had to. No problems whatsoever. I think I'm going to have to leave that to a part 2. But anyway, we did get basically a fix for this thing to get it booting again. So that's not too shabby at all. If you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up. And as always, discuss down below. Subscribe with the little over here, with the little bell icon. People wonder why they don't get notified. You've got to not only subscribe, but click on the bell icon so that you get notified. Oh, and apparently YouTube have just admitted that they don't notify everyone or some bullshit. Their algorithm does some weird thing, and pain in the ass. Anyway, catch you next time.